Premier Doug Ford announced this morning the Ontario government plans to give Toronto a major cash handout aimed at combating gun violence in the city. Megan Fitzpatrick is at the Ontario Legislature in Toronto. What did we hear from the Premier today, Megan?
Well, Rashmi, we heard that this $25 million investment is going to be spread out over the next 4 years, and $7.6 million will be dedicated to creating what the Premier called a legal SWAT team stationed at each provincial courthouse in the city of Toronto. Now, these teams will be led by a Crown attorney, and their main task is to prevent those accused of gun crimes from getting out on bail. So this is the government's effort to try and prevent these people from getting back on the street, and some of that funding would go towards hiring new bail enforcement officers to ensure that those who are out on bail are following the conditions. And then some of the other funding would go towards the Toronto Police Service, $18 million over the next 4 years, to help them purchase new digital tools, investigative tools, to help them tackle drug-related gang activity and gun crimes. And Police Chief Mark Saunders was quoted in a news release put out by the government saying the PC government is listening to the Toronto Police Service's concerns and that this money will help them tackle some of these issues. Now, Ford's language during this news conference this morning was quite a tough on criminals approach. Let's take a listen to a bit of what that sounded like.
We are sending a clear message to the thugs, to the violent criminals who think they own our streets. We are sending a message that we are coming for them, that we are giving our police the tools they need to hunt them down.
So Rashmi, the funding announced this morning really is focused more on the law enforcement side, and he was asked, what about funding for prevention programs? That's something that John Tory, the Mayor of Toronto, has been asking for as well. And Doug Ford said he is interested in getting at the root causes of gang activity and gun crime in the first place and trying to figure out where the guns are coming from, for example. But he said really the police are the best experts. That's who he wants to listen to. He trusts them to spend the money that's being given to them and not the politicians at City Hall or the politicians here at Queen's Park, or who he called the so-called experts. He says the money goes to the police and it's up to them to decide how to use it.
Okay, and Mayor John Tory had floated the idea of a handgun ban in Toronto. What did Premier Doug Ford have to say about that?
That's right. The Toronto City Council recently voted in favor of a motion that advocates calling on the federal government to allow Toronto to ban handguns. Doug Ford made it clear this morning he's not on board with that idea, and he explained why. Here he is.
I wouldn't support a ban on handguns. There's a lot of legal, responsible handgun owners. We have to refocus all our resources are going after the bad guys, not the good guys, but the bad guys. And as I said, we're coming for them.
So he doesn't agree with the Toronto mayor on that idea, but he was calling on the mayor and Toronto City Council and the federal government to do more to tackle these issues. And at the city level, he's challenging Toronto City Council to hire more police officers. So quite a heavy emphasis on the law enforcement side from the Premier this morning, Rashmi.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. Megan Fitzpatrick at Queen's Park in Toronto.